All right, welcome in. Another great show on the docket for you all today. This is Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. Hope all of you out there are having a fantastic week. Here's what we're discussing on the program today. More Malcolm Jenkins buzz following that injury to CJ Gardner-Johnson. And with that injury, we'll take a look at some other safety options outside of Malcolm Jenkins. Jordan Davis, could he return against the Tennessee Titans? Things are pointing up there. Good news on Dallas Goedert, and Fletcher Cox has been dealing with an injury. Jalen Hurts named the NFC Offensive Player of the Week. I told you today's show is locked and loaded, and you don't want to miss any of it. First, a programming reminder. Philadelphia Eagles Now live tomorrow, Thursday, in our normal slot, 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Pacific. We'll go through all of the latest Eagles news, rumors, analysis, get you set up for Sunday's game against the Tennessee Titans. We'll be live for that game as well for another watch party, so subscribe, turn on those notices, and continue to make this the best, most go-to Eagles YouTube channel out there. So the talk of the city right now, and it's pretty funny how this has transpired with Malcolm Jenkins. We talked about this on Monday because I was asked about it following the game on Sunday Night Football. Following the injury of CJ Gardner-Johnson, could the Eagles make a call and send a message out to Malcolm Jenkins, the former Eagles great, to try to bring him back to the city of brotherly love for a stretch run? Now, we talked about it on the show, and now every publication across the entire city has followed suit. I'm not saying that we're trendsetters or something, but a lot of people do watch Philadelphia Eagles Now. No question about it. So, should the Eagles sign Malcolm Jenkins for the stretch run after the injury to CD Deuce? More quotes from Malcolm Jenkins in that interview with John Clark. This is a snippet that we haven't seen, and these are updated quotes from Malcolm Jenkins. So, John Clark, in a different interview, by the way, asked Malcolm Jenkins, if the Eagles called and said, hey, can you come back and help us out? What would you say? Jenkins, his response, it's obviously something I would entertain, but a lot of that is out of my control. It's not that simple because I'm not a free agent. He is retired. So a little bit of a nuance there, but obviously it's exciting times in Philly. I'm in shape. I'm not against it. Some things need to fall in line for something like that to happen, but those things haven't gotten in motion at all. So obviously you can file this under the juicy Eagles rumors sector of the show. And to think about Malcolm Jenkins right now, he didn't need, in my opinion, to retire after last year. He still had a little bit of gas left in the tank, even though he's been in the NFL for 13 years, and this would be his 14th season. And obviously this guy is so well accomplished, and that's why a lot of Eagles fans out there, with the player that he has been and the player that I still think he can be, on top of everything that he's done, leadership qualities, really that locker room presence that this organization didn't have going all the way back to Brian Dawkins was paramount, and a big reason why the Eagles won that Super Bowl back in 2017 because of his leadership. Two-time Super Bowl champion, a three-time Pro Bowler, all Pro Bowl appearances coming with the Birds, second-team All-Pro in 2010, and an All-American at Ohio State. Now, if the Eagles don't go the route of Malcolm Jenkins, who are some other free agent safety options out there? Let's take a look at these four names here. Keep in mind, if they wanted to poach a player off a practice squad, they could do that as well. They did have Jaquiski Tartt in here, formerly of the San Francisco 49ers, for a cup of tea during the preseason. He was a surprise cut, as was Anthony Harris, when the Eagles trimmed that roster down to 53 players. He's still out there, a little bit surprising to me, because among the options on this list, I actually thought he played pretty well last year, dropped an interception that could have won the Niners the NFC Championship game a year ago, but is still pretty young as compared to a Jeff Heath, who might be the most notable name on this list. More on him in a minute. Anderson Day, who I think is just washed at this point. Really physical safety back in his heyday, but because of that, the physicality, I'm not sure that it's there. And then Jared Wilson is a guy who was undrafted coming out of the college ranks, has popped around with a couple of teams. A lot of people might know him from the New York Jets, the San Francisco 49ers. He, too, remains unsigned. Let's pivot back to Jeff Heath. A lot of people in Philadelphia and Eagles fans worldwide know about this guy because he was with the Dallas Cowboys for a while, 2013 to 2019, more of a backup safety, But as a backup safety in his career, he was a solid player, nothing special. Was with the Las Vegas Raiders in 2020. Was with the New Orleans Saints last year but barely played. And at 31 years old, could he come in and fulfill that depth role if Reed Blankenship, as well as Marcus Epps, Kevon Wallace, Andre Chichere don't really play all that well? He has played a lot in his NFL career. 135 games played, a lot of those in a reserve role, 395 tackles, 14 tackles for loss, 28 pass breakups to go along with 11 interceptions. If I'm Howie Roseman, I'm going after Jaquiski Tartt. A lot of you know about Jaquiski Tartt. If you're thinking about Anthony Harris, right now he's on the Denver Broncos active roster and the NFL trade deadline has passed. So Jaquiski Tartt, Malcolm Jenkins. My top two options out there. If you need to go Jeff Heath, maybe. I just wanted to highlight him because a lot of people are familiar with him with this stint with the Dallas Cowboys. We're only getting started on today's show, but because we were spending a few moments talking about Malcolm Jenkins and because he's a big topic of conversation this week, how about this question right here? I kind of want to see the different eras of our audience here. Because some might say that Malcolm Jenkins is their favorite Eagle of all time. For me, I'm going with the different safety. It's number 20, Brian Dawkins. Who is your favorite Philadelphia Eagle? Can we get a Chuck Bednarik into the comment section? Let me know right now down below. As for Jordan Davis, great news on this front. He has been activated. His 21-day practice window has been opened. He missed the last 4 weeks after going on IR after suffering that sprained ankle against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he could play as early as this week against the Tennessee Titans. Why is that a big deal? I'll tell you in just a second. Jordan Davis, first-round pick out of Georgia. A lot of questions for him coming out of Georgia after winning a national championship. Is he a 2-down player? Is he a 3-down player? Does he have the necessary fitness level to play 3 downs? Can he even rush the passer? I'm not sure about all that yet. What I do know, this guy is a great run-stopping defensive tackle, and he's been able to show that through 8 games and 5 starts, 14 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 1 pass breakup. His Pro Football Focus grade against the ground game, nearly 80. And if he's able to play against the Titans, this comes at a great time. This is an Eagles rushing defense that the last 2 weeks has played a lot better. 2 weeks ago, they held the Colts and Jonathan Taylor under 100 yards. Last week against the Packers did surpass that 100-yard mark, but the Eagles' rushing defense was a lot better. I also think this is going to be the biggest test for this Eagles offense going up against this Mike Vrabel defense because their level of physicality can certainly match and maybe halt that Eagles offense, which has shown some signs of life the last week and change late against the Colts and then throughout that game against Green Bay when they went up, went down, and then pulled away at the end. Derrick Henry, it's crazy his longevity with how big he is and the level of style with physicality that he plays with. He has already surpassed 1,000 rushing yards on the ground, coming off that foot injury last year, which I was concerned about. 247 carries, 10 touchdowns, 4.2 yards per carry to go along with that 1,000-yard marker. So who you got in this game on Sunday? Philadelphia Eagles, Tennessee Titans. I think that the Birds can win this game, but it's going to be close. I do not think that they cover that 5.5-point line. PHI for the Eagles, TEN for the Tennessee Titans. And speaking of those betting odds, producer Coop right on it. Bang. Eagles, 5.5-point favorites. Titans, the over-under here set at 44.5. They're not really an explosive offensive team, and I think this could be a low-scoring, defensive-oriented game, which is okay for Philadelphia because their secondary is good. It all comes down to how they defend the ground game. If you want to bet on this game, there's no better place to do it than BetUS, our sportsbook partner, offering a 125% deposit bonus, which means if you put in $100, you get an additional $125 back. That is $225 to game with, and no matter where you live, that deal right here, it applies for you. Jalen Hurts receiving more accolades. Is he going to get an MVP trophy? We'll take a look at how he stacks up against Patrick Mahomes in a second, but he has been named the NFC Offensive Player of the Week for his performance against the Green Bay Packers, and take a look at what he did against Green Bay. Just the 4th player in NFL history to throw for more than 150 yards and run for more than 150 yards in a single game. His passing numbers, 16 to 28, a buck 53, 2 touchdowns through the air, and then he added 17 carries. 17 carries for a quarterback is a lot. You know what's even better and crazier? 157 yards on those 17 carries. As a lot of people league-wide, including Tom Brady, have taken notice of what Hurts is able to do and what he's been able to do all throughout this year. Is that style of play sustainable in the playoffs? And can Jalen Hurts running it and throwing it win you 3-4 games in a row in the NFL playoffs? The jury is out. We'll see. A lot of opposing defenses can plan against these types of offenses. We've seen it with Lamar Jackson and Greg Roman, the Ravens offensive coordinator, and the Eagles run a lot of similar concepts. But if there's a guy that can get it done with poise, with confidence, who is level-headed and never lets the moment get too big, it's Jalen Hurts. And look at how he stacks up against Patrick Mahomes. In my opinion, these right now are the two leaders to win the NFL MVP. Hurts is 10-1, Mahomes 9-2. Total touchdowns because Hurts has added a lot on the ground. 25-3 for Jalen Hurts, 30-8 for Patrick Mahomes, 29 of those for Mahomes coming through the air. Of course, Mahomes has the edge in passing yards, but Hurts crushing him in rushing yards and actually has a higher completion percentage on fewer attempts than Patrick Mahomes as well. More injury news to get to before we round out today's show, and it's more positive Eagles injury news. Dallas Goedert, a little bit of an update here. No longer in a sling, as seen in the Eagles locker room at the NovaCare complex today. He said that he expects to come off IR when he's eligible to against the Chicago Bears in Week 15. So it's Week 13 now. So in a couple of weeks for Dallas Goedert, and he's having an all-pro caliber season. 43 catches, 544 yards, 3 touchdowns. I've said this. I'll continue to say it. The haters can hate, whatever. I don't care. He's been better than Mark Andrews. He's been the second best tight end in the NFL after Travis Kelce. And now we go to Fletcher Cox. I ripped Fletcher Cox a couple of weeks ago because after that game against Washington, in which he played awfully, and he's really been somewhat absent outside of the last 2 weeks, we had to give it to him, right? Because he hasn't been playing well. Is a reason for that because he had a foot issue. John Clark, NBC Sports Philadelphia, who has done those interviews with Malcolm Jenkins, saying that Fletcher Cox told him he had a foot issue for a few weeks, and Sunday night he felt good. Nick Sirianni says that was Fletcher's best game of the year. High praise right there. Is it a confidence booster? Not sure. Could be coach speak. Jonathan Gannon says Fletch got a game ball and was lights out. New defensive tackles are helping keeping everybody fresh, which is a good point because Cox had to play more than 70 snaps against Washington, and now Jordan Davis is coming back as well. And then there's this. Devontae Smith, Zach Pascal, limited with groin injuries at practice today in the lead up of this game against the Tennessee Titans. So something that we'll continue to monitor there, and two of the better weapons at the wide receiver spot on this Eagles roster, obviously. All right, how many people, I just want to do this for fun, to see how many people watched until the end. I'm going to go back into the comment section to see how many people just type yo in the comment section. And let me just say, if you do it, yo, I appreciate all of you. It's so Philly, it hurts like Jalen Hurts. How many people can we rally in the comment section right now? I'm putting you all to the test. Appreciate everybody for tuning in, and we'll catch you tomorrow for our Eagles Now live show.